Gentlemen, to the Alpha Draft Challenger League. My name is Achilles. With me is Froskurin, and we're getting this game underway. It's Legendary on the blue side versus Cloud9 Tempest. This one's been a little bit of a long time coming now.
Yeah, so let's just set the stage. We are to pick and ban phase. Legendary is the newest team that's joined in the tournament. Obviously, we've had some teams drop out. They're inheriting Team DreamX record. I believe they're what, 5-6, perhaps. I think they're middle of the road or bottom tier of the pack. Meanwhile, facing across them is going to be Cloud9 Tempest, sitting very comfortably in second place underneath Misfits. And with our draft phase, it's Lulu first and Garen. I have a feeling
I
they're just banning that as a response to the rule.
More than likely, Cloud9 Tempest just having a little bit of fun in that regard. We will see Rumble taken away, though, from Solo. Yet again, not surprising. He's been such a power pick for the top side. Speaking of power picks, Hecarim going to be the second ban taken away by Cloud9 Tempest. Don't want to give that one over to Acadian. We've seen him play that before in the past and in other instances, and he typically has a field day with the pony, so unsurprising in that regard. We're going to have to see what Legendary wants to do with their last ban. It's actually going to be Zed against Yasui, so taking that one out, and then Rengar going to be the final ban here. Not too surprising as well. So a lot of respect paid to Acadian in the top side of the map. And we can see Nidalee going to be the first thing grabbed up by Legendary. We saw that in the top lane yesterday. We'll have to see if they want to do that again, or if Despone23 is going to play it in the jungle. We know that Hard really loves to play the Nidalee, so they might play it either way, but more than likely they're just picking that up to really just take it away from Hard in the jungle.
Well, likewise, we also have Bishu in the mid lane, a very well-known Nidalee player. So, and
Also
like you
true.
said, it is a contested pick away from Hard. We've seen it banned away from him, picked away from him. So, technically a flex pick. It could go jungle, mid, or top lane. Not Acadian, excuse me. RF Legendary played it yesterday for Misfits. On the other side, though, Solo is hovering his Gnar, obviously because the Rumble was targeted banned away from him. He's had a great performance on that champion. And the Rengar ban was targeted at Acadian, known as a Rengar top player.
Yeah, he has pretty devastating performances on that Rengar top. I think we've seen that banned against him in almost just in most games where Acadian is involved. That is one of the things that makes it onto the ban list. We will see the final selection, though, for Cloud9 Tempest on their first round. It's going to be Gnar for the top side and Sejuani in the jungle. So still going for one of those power pick junglers. But that makes for, potentially devastating combo. You have that Mega Gnar ultimate combined with the Glacial Prison. But very fast picks coming in here for Legendary. Going to be the Annie and Sivir. So likely seeing that bot lane forming up here for the side of Legendary.
Curious what the next rotation for Cloud9 Tempest. They've already kind of showed their hand as a very hard engaged composition. Yasui hovering the Urgot that could likewise go down to the bottom lane, although I figure Laud would pick that up if it was going to go into the AD carry position rather than that mid position.
Now, this is also something that we've seen pretty consistently banned against Cloud9 Tempest, or at least in the games that they're involved in, is this Urgot pick. So be interested to see if they want to go ahead and lock this one in for the team and then find out where they want to play that one. It will get locked in. So the question is now, do they want to send this one onto the AD carry role, or do they want to put that in the mid for Yasui?
Well, Cloud9 Tempest struggled yesterday when I believe it was Elo Mingle that they were facing off against. They put Yasui on a Lulu mid. And we talked about before the game how you lose a lot of your power because Yasui is such a primary carry point for the team to put him on a utility mid laner. So it seems like they're trying to change that up, giving him really a big power pick, Urgot. We saw Alex Each perform to a lot of success on that champion when he first unveiled it in the Alpha Draft. So expect that to be incredibly punishing. Urgot's range with his Missile Seeker, pretty absurd. Can safely poke someone from behind their tower, outside of tower, aggro.
Yeah, those Acid Hunters with the Corrosive Charge, pretty legit. Nautilus going to be the pickup, though, for Sheep, and we know that he really likes those hook-heavy supports. So unsurprising to see that one coming in, and actually a Yasuo
for the top
as well
lane.
as the Zig. So yeah, we're gonna have a top lane Yasuo for Acadian. and then Bishu on Ziggs in the mid. So still sticking with that pretty consistent pickup for Ziggs. 100% tonight, only 2 games in that regard, but we saw him all of yesterday and today to follow. So really becoming a much more popular pick, it would seem. And now last pick going over to Cloud9 Tempest. We'll have to see what they want to finish out their composition with here, whether it's going to be another AD carry or a mid laner with the hover on Kog'Maw and the lock-in. That really could go either way.
Looks like it will go into Laud's hands, at least for now. Now, talking about this Yasuo pick for the top lane. So Cadian's known, I know, right, as a very aggressive top lane player. Plays carry-oriented champions. Of course, he's shown some of his tanks, but Rengar was specifically banned away against him. He has pulled up the Yasuo. I don't really like the matchup between Gnar and Yasuo. Yasuo obviously is looking to burst people. He's technically an assassin. It's very hard to burst Gnar as a champion just because he has that Mega Gnar form available. He's going to get very tanky naturally. Likewise, Gnar can be very punishing against melee range champions just because he brings that range and the ability to walk people down with his boomerang. This is a huge comfort pick for Arcadian, so we'll see if that actually pays off as far as this matchup is concerned. I have no doubt that he's probably faced this many times in solo queue, so maybe he knows exactly how he wants to play this one. Curious that they're not giving the Nidalee over to Bishu, that they're keeping it in the jungle. Not that Nidalee is a top-tier mid laner, and I think she would be very much punished, but we do see that Yusui actually trade over to the Kog'Maw, so it's going to be the AP Cog, and then Laud taking Urgot down into the bot lane. I was just about to talk about how Ziggs would be pretty safe against Urgot, but never mind. Severe's problem now. Yeah.
So I guess one of the questions that I have to ask going into this is, because you mentioned that Acadian has probably had this matchup many a time in solo queue, but just from the face value of this team for Legendary, it almost seems like a solo queue team. Acadian doesn't have too much setup for his Last Breath ultimate here. The only thing that really counts as a displacement for him that he can proc that off of would be the satchel charge for Ziggs. So do you think that he's just so comfortable with this Yasuo pick in the top lane that that's why he went with it? Or was it maybe a little bit of a misconsideration here going into the picks phase that maybe they shouldn't have drafted this?
I think you hit the nail on the head as far as the former. It's just a big comfort pick for him, and we'll see if this works out, if he's able to find the snowball in the 1v1, or if he's going to get punished because they don't have the team fight synergy available. That said, good setup for them is if they find a 5-man Tibbers and his NATO comes across, he could still get a 5-man ultimate. Just not a lot of room for error.
All right, well, we'll have to see if Acadian's able to play this Yasuo to form, or if Cloud9 Tempest's seemingly superior draft is going to come out on top. So we're going to find out in just a few minutes when we get back onto the Rift. So don't go anywhere, guys. We have this last game of the night between Cloud9 Tempest and Legendary when we come back. Welcome back and welcome on to the Rift, guys, for the last game of the night for the Alpha Draft Challenger League. My name is Achilles. With me is Straskurin. We have this match here for you on the blue side. It's Legendary with Acadian in the top on Yasuo. Despone 23 in the jungle with Nidalee. Bishu in the mid with the Ziggs. Impactful Pone. And Lopali in the bot side with the Sivir Annie combo.
And on the other side for Cloud9 Tempest, it's going to be solo on Gnar in the top lane, Hard taking Sejuani into the jungle, Yasui pulling out the AP Kog'Maw for the mid lane, Laud is taking that Urgot down to the bottom lane for AD carry, and joining him will be Sheep on Nautilus. And this is something that I wanted to talk about straight out the gate, is the amount of power picks that Cloud9 Tempest were able to pick up. Now, from Purple side, we're in a state of the game where Purple side, I feel like, has an innate advantage just because it's second rotation, you're allowed 2 picks. So you pretty much ban away what you consider the most broken or target ban champions, which is typically Hecarim because he's first pick blue side worthy. And then you get 2 massive power picks for Purple side. Now, how this coordinates is Cloud9 Tempest were actually late. And so they lost a ban. But in Alpha Draft, we've kind of changed our system to where instead of just not allowing a ban because we feel like that punishes both teams, we give the ban to the other team. So that Garen is what I suspect was the actual ban from the other team. Now, obviously, Legendary, they were trying to be good guys. They just wanted to have them lose the ban, so they banned a champion that just wasn't really worth anything in today's current meta. This kind of came back to bite them, though, a little bit, as I feel like they were really out-drafted in this competition. But we'll see as we have kind of a sneaky red buff steal going on late.
Yeah, moving in, we can see the bot lane. With that Annie present coming in, Acadian going to be helping take away that red buff as well. Annie going to roam back up to the top side, so do get that readout, so we will have that 2v2 in the top lane. Solo for the time being, running solo in the bot side of the map, not going to have that presence of Yasuo, so he sticks around. Trying to get that extra little sap CS. You can see he's got 5 minions right now to the Gnar. On the recall, we'll see him likely teleport into the bot side of the map as well. And Bishu already starting to lay down a little bit of damage onto Yasuo. You can see taking him down to half HP, using as much of that early advantage that he has as possible with the bouncing bombs. Trying to rip through that Kog'Maw before he can become that ever hyper scaling presence.
I'm really glad that you talked about Zig's early advantage in that lane, not only with his bouncing bomb Q, but also with his bonus on his auto attack. So, like you said, going to be able to poke and harass Yasui quite well until Yasui gets the big power spike at level 6 and can repeatedly spam his R.
Yeah, going to be quite some time for that one. We can see Crystalline Flask start for him. Likely going to be the tier on the first back as well. Acadian, though, going hard on a solo in the bot lane, who just turned back into Mini Gnar, has that teleport available. He flashes forward, throws it out, and he's going to go ahead and get that whirlwind through. That is first blood going on over to a Yasuo. Acadian coming up pretty big with this pick that looked a little bit questionable at first.
And that's what we were talking about. If Acadian was going to be able to find the snowball now, this is so great that he found this kill early because this levels 1 through 6 are pretty much the only place that he's really going to be able to kill Gnar or have kill pressure. Now this could change the course of this game just because he's going to have an itemization advantage as well as an experience advantage and may find more kills down the line. But if he waited too long where Gnar was going to get his big resistance, his tanky stats naturally, his kill pressure would lower. So great job on Acadian to find the comfort there and to go hard.
Yeah, that is, we can see he's coming right back in with boots and double Doran, so looking to play pretty aggressively. Surprised that he's not putting that toward maybe a little bit of crit chance, a Brawler's Glove, something like that, maybe going into an Avarice Blade to get that early little extra burst, but just going to go ahead, opt for the extra sustain with the damage and sustain. Despone going in the bot lane, though, trying to catch out solo, not going to be able to find too much. Laying down a little bit of damage, but then Nidalee going to take, a couple more rotations through the jungle, get that first back, pick up the jungle item before she can really start ripping through these HP bars. Gnar is also a little bit elusive for this gank because he does have that hop that he can use to get out of range, so should be relatively safe for the time being. But we can see he's actually doing a good job of keeping up in CS right now, having a slight lead over Acadian despite that first blood.
And really what Dez's presence down there is just continually hammering the fact that they do have an advantage. But now in the top lane.
Yeah, Lopali taking a heck of a lot of damage here from Lod using those locked-in Acid Hunters to really lay down the law. Now, Acadian in quite a bad spot. Solo is luckily not close to transforming into that Mega Gnar, but Hard is here. Acadian dashing around as much as he can, throws out that Tornado. Still dashing through the minions, not quite getting himself to safety, trying to trade back that fatal damage onto Solo, but looks like he may be taking some himself as Hard dashes right back in. He has the Tornado available, eats the Boomerang, dashes through Hard. He's got that slow coming out. He will go down. Hard fighting that kill. So Acadian may be playing a little bit too cocky, trying to get the kill rather than just retreating.
Some fancy footwork. Now, obviously, a lot of Yasuo's mobility is dependent on where the creep wave is positioned. So I think he was trying to do the best that he could, maybe trade one for one. Unfortunately, he just didn't have the creep wave to really make a clean escape right there. And I think he was more so punished the fact that on his initial back, he didn't spend his first blood to also pick up a ward. Has it this time, though, so he learned his lesson.
Yeah, does pick that one up as well as a dagger. So just opting to get just a couple more attacks in. Dez ping his visit into the top side. Will connect the spear over onto Sheep as he gets stunned up by that. Annie, a huge amount of damage coming through with that Boomerang blade. Dredgeline onto Dez as he takes the tower shot. Impactful will find a kill on a Sheep, however. Dez going to be safe for the time being, and Lod relegated underneath of his own tower without mana. A nice pickup coming in for Legendary in the top side of the map.
And unfortunately, Law just didn't have the mana to follow up on the tower shot, the lockdown that they got on Dez underneath the tower. But great Nidalee gank and transitions into a clean kill, especially because it goes on to Impactful.
Yeah, that is quite a good start for the Sivir, who's, prior to that gank was having a little bit of issue in the top side, keeping ahead in CS. Does get to come back into lane with a BF sword here. Now up about 200 gold over top of the Urgot. To see both on the recall, likely going to just go ahead and swap these lanes straight out and try to keep that 2v2. We will have to see. Lod starting to wander back. Actually might be going to the top side yet again, whereas Impactful is going to find himself in the bot lane against this Gnar.
This will give a superior dragon control over to Legendary, just because they have the teleport available as well as the numbers advantage on the top side of the map should Annie continue to join Impactful here after she's done laying down her deep wards.
So we can see sitting on top of that one right there, not going to be able to find this gank onto Solo as desired. So low pally likely just going to go ahead and rejoin Impactful right now, not quite getting in for those for that CS as needed, or the experience I should say off of the CS. Now Acadian in that 1v2 situation does have that wind wall to try to block a bit of the projectile damage that could come out from Lod's Urgot, but really getting pushed underneath of his tower. We can see 49 to 65 CS between the top laners. So Solo, despite getting killed early, still having a slightly better game in that regard, and should be able to put up better numbers in this 1v2 situation because he has that Boomerang and that range as the mini Gnar. So as long as he just doesn't get too excited, he should be fine.
No, and you're exactly right. That's the really big important thing here is they're losing actually the lead that they gave to Acadian by allowing him to have that first blood. But hold on,
oh wow, the Mega Gnar knocking him into the tower. Low Valley is going to go down as he takes that tower shot. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Lod getting that last breath from Acadian. Looks like he should be able to kite back and be relatively safe. The dredge line connects onto Dez as he takes a bit of damage. Lod starting to really throw out. You can see, even just for having that tier pickaxe and longsword, already doing a heck of a lot of damage. Really good ult on the bot side.
They effectively traded the lead that they gave to Acadian because they didn't apply pressure onto the dragon when they had the numbers advantage to the top side of the map. It's allowed Solo to get a foot back in this game, not only by picking up that great kill off of the amazing Gnar ultimate, but picking up a huge CS discrepancy that pretty much compensates for the first blood entirely between the gold of these two top laners. So kind of a misstep there from Legendary to send their jungler top lane as opposed to playing to their strengths on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, misstep for sure. That's going to be a very nice pickup for Solo. Going to be very happy with that trade. Picking up the Phage, as we can see. Now sitting also on that Ruby Crystal to boot. So starting to get himself a little bit tanky, as well as getting himself that extra added damage in. So definitely going to be able to do quite well in this 1v2 situation, as we were talking about, we find him not only ahead of his respective top lane counterpart, but also ahead of the AD carry with Impactful on this server. They're about even in CS now, but so far just having such a good control game with this Gnar. And you really have to start questioning this lane rotation for Acadian up into the top side in the 1v2. But at this point, I don't know if it's, it might be too late for them to go back on it. And try to say, yeah, you know what, how about you go back into the bot and face the Gnar instead?
It makes perfect sense if Dez would just play to the bottom side. There they go. So we see Legendary finally rotating down towards the Dragon. That said, they will be trading the tower in response to it as Lot and Sheep have built up a sizable wave. Hard is in the area, so we'll see if Sejuani's presence is enough to make him back. Doesn't look like it, so there should be a free Dragon. So finally, they understand, okay, we have our top laner, we have the numbers advantage on the bottom side. This Dragon is our free objective, but Acadian still got relatively punished for it, and he lost his big window of opportunity to find that Yasuo snowball. So we'll see how this impacts Yasuo going into the mid game, and more importantly, into the late game.
Yeah, I mean, if he's able to freeze properly and get that CS in, it could help him really swing back in. We could see first by Berserker Graves coming in here, which is a little bit interesting of a path for a Yasuo. Typically, you want to see him get those, major crit items out as quickly as possible. So a little bit of a more unique build coming in. You can see he has pushed the way forward into the tower to try to deny the CS from Solo. He should be able to get a little bit on the backside of this one. And now there we go. That crit item finally coming in for Acadian. The Zeal picked up. So a lot of attention paid onto attack speed for him. Crit, just a little bit of a happenstance stat that he's picking up. Vishu in the mid lane, though, in a little bit of a bad spot. Throws out that satchel charge, should hop him to safety. Only down to about 60% HP, but Acadian has now joined his team in the mid lane. Windwall actually blocking out that caustic spittle from Yusui's Kog'Maw, but not going to be able to block those living artillery. As you can see, our Acadian already taken down to below half HP. A little bit of an onslaught being pushed out onto this mid lane tower, but Yusui should be able to clear this out with relative ease and keep it quite safe.
Best case situation for Acadian right there to try to make something happen in the mid lane, since it's very dangerous for him previously to go up into the top lane. Not so much now that Solo has pushed the wave back to him so he can safely farm near his own tower, isn't as overextended. That said, there is a TP discrepancy between Acadian and Solo now, and we'll see if Cloud9 Tempest are able to make the most of that window.
Right now in a pretty advantageous position despite being down the first dragon of the game. We'll see that one coming up in about 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes or so. But almost find themselves about 1,000 gold ahead of 13 minutes. Not a significant lead, but a lead nonetheless, because that first dragon buff isn't going to be netting too much for Legendary. We can see Sheep getting spotted over the wall. That ward eats a stun from the Annie, but not going to see too much follow-up. Outside of that, Impactful and Low Pally really playing to the bot side, trying to get this push on. The tower's already down to about 20% HP. So with a little bit of added pressure, they may be able to take this one down, but they have to be careful because Hard is waiting in the wings and could very quickly turn, a tower taker, tower dive situation around into, 2 free kills. Canadian, meanwhile, on the top side, just trying to get caught right back up on CS Solo. Up by about 16, 17 CS in that regard. So he's done a little bit of a good job to get on a recovery path. I think that top side is still the largest CS discrepancy that we're seeing across the board. Outside of that, it's just these 80 carries, which between themselves is only separated by about 10. So not too shabby. We see Low Pally getting grabbed up by that dredge line. Sheep immediately going to peel off, though. Not looking to overcommit and take damage on the backside of that engage. So just getting a little bit of harass out for the time being.
There's actually a lot of freedom for Lot and Sheep to play aggressively should they choose to, just because Solo can be there at any time, whereas Acadian cannot. I think they're being a bit more conservative just because Hard isn't on the same side of the map. But when Sejuani's on the bottom side, that's very easily a 4v3 at best case scenario for Legendary. So expect to see, I'm expecting to see Lot and Sheep go pretty ham relatively quickly here.
Well, they should. We could see that powerhouse of an Urgot starting to come to fruition. Scott, the Mana unit already completed. Stacking that one up almost about halfway through those. Longsword to boot, as well as a couple of cloth armors. So we will see that one start building into the Frozen Heart. So very staple items coming out, but he's got a huge amount of damage that he's able to output as long as he can actually land those corrosive charges. So you can see those ones getting whiffed out. Scrying Orb thrown forward into that brush, but not going to spot out hard for the time being.
They have an idea, though.
Yeah, they have that suspicion, but it might make them a little bit complacent having used the Scrying Orb. Hard is really starting to play the long game in this bot side, but might have to back out soon because we can see Impactful and Lopali still aren't playing very far forward. So yeah, that's going to be the retreat from the Sejuani.
Likewise, the Mind Games, obviously seeing the Scrying Orb come down, they also had to assume that Dez would be in the area just because they now know that the enemy team suspected that Sejuani would be, and lo and behold, Dez did move down onto the bottom side of the map, so really well played by both teams as far as an answer is concerned. I want to talk about a little bit about the Severe versus Urgot matchup, although I may not have time as Bishu.
Yeah, eating a good bit of damage, almost getting that tower down though. Yasui's throwing out those living artilleries, but he's running low on mana, so not going to be able to keep up the onslaught. So go right back to your point. Actually, maybe thought as Acadian's engaging onto Solo, who's about to transform in that Meganar. He goes in, the last breath connects though, and Solo's taking quite low, gets a nice Meganar ultimate, knocking Despone back immediately, but Acadian's going deep, gets the knock up underneath the tower, and we'll be able to take him out. And walk out with his life. Has to burn the flash to get the kill, but a kill nonetheless.
Very well played from Acadian. Dez doing a great job understanding that we need to get this Yasuo snowballed. Continuously applying pressure, trying to get Acadian back into the game, but now in the mid lane, never mind. Hard's like, maybe I don't want it. Bot lane, they take the tower.
Yeah. A little bit of trepidation across the map, but that tower does go down in the second of the game for Cloud9 Tempest, who only have a 300 gold lead here. And are down that first dragon of the game, so really Legendary currently, as far as pure statistics go, in the lead, but looking to change that as Lopali gets grabbed up. He does go down hard, able to lock him in. Sheep with Dredge Line as well, confirming the kill, so they will take out the support. So Andy gonna be down. Dragon is live on the board. This could open up Cloud9 Tempest for some added pressure around the Dragon Pit, you know, without that Tibbers ever present. Lot and Sheep, though, playing forward here, trying to defend the tower. Not quite going to happen, though. That does go down. So 2-2 in turrets. And this is Legendary barely keeping a lead.
See if they're able to snowball that forward. We do have Acadian moving over towards the Dragon Pit with the rest of his team. It is warded, so Cloud9 Tempest have an idea of what's going on, although with some untimely backs, it looks like this will be a free objective over to Legendary. Yep, Harv resigning himself to his Raptor camp.
Yeah, this is just really good capitalization. I mean, I don't think at this point Cloud9 Tempest is too worried about giving over those dragons. It's only the second. You know, it is that structural damage buff, but it's not. They're not quite near that aspect of the dragon. Meanwhile, Yasui, though, trying to get a kill onto Bishu. You can see the living artillery starting to do a heck of a lot of damage. He's throwing those ones out consistently. The Caustic Spittle does connect. Not going to be able to find a kill, though. Meanwhile, Lopali on the bot side. Never mind, he does find it. He's able to waltz in for that auto attack, but Lopali being taken quite low. Last breath goes over onto Lot, who has to flash away, but a flash forward from Impactful finds the kill with the auto attack. Now Solo in a very bad spot, bounces out, but gets stunned up underneath the turret. Impactful yet again, able to walk right up, auto him to finish. That's going to be an unofficial double kill and a turret. And that's Legendary coming out wildly on top. Dragon comes in. They lose Bishu, but they pick up 2 kills on the bot side as well as a tower. Lose 1 in the mid lane, though.
Pretty much that was just a fumble of Cloud9 Tempest communication right there. The teleport came in far too late from Solo. They had a TP advantage pretty much for the last 3 to 4 minutes of this game. They waited until Acadian had his teleport available, and then they decided to fight, so not quite sure what the issue was there. But good play by Acadian and great pickup for Legendary.
Yeah, really good pickup indeed. And Acadian showing that, you know, even though this is a comfort pick, he still is able to play it in just about every situation. 2-1-2 on the Yasuo. Now up in CS against Solosnar, having quite the good game where it was starting to look a little bit iffy at the beginning. So really coming back into form here. It looks like we do have a slight pause coming out. One of our players having a little bit of lag on the side of Legendary, so gonna get that taken care of and get right back into the action.
I mean, that said, we have a moment to kind of briefly glance over itemization, and the first one that I want to point out is that Solo there on his Gnar has actually picked up the brand new Black Cleaver, yeah.
an interesting buy, and not something that we have ever really seen on Gnar in the past, especially as a first buy item. Um, you know, and it's really just the changes coming in for him that make this that much better. Because typically, I mean, it's something that we've seen, especially here at ADCL, is the first buy Frozen Mallet for Gnar, because it allows him to hound down his enemies and really just get that chase on. But you know, with that new passive going over and the 20 movement speed on, you know, upon physical damage, gets, you know, 20 movement speed for 2 seconds. So it kind of
It's
almost replicates a Frozen Mallet, but a little bit in reverse. Rather than slowing out, it helps speed up the Gnar and make him that much more elusive and harder to get away from.
kind of the issue that I have with it though is that his team in specific, the fact that he has an Urgot and a Kog'Maw, and he's, you know, really the only physical damage or the primary, not the primary source, because Urgot's still going to do physical damage. But you know what I mean? It's not like he's a very 80 heavy team where the armor pen and the shred is really going to count across the board for his teammates on the Black Cleaver. So we'll see how he uses it. If it turns out to be cost effective, obviously it's also giving him a couple of those bruiser stats, some extra health, CDR, things like that. Nice thing though is that he gets to make use of its passive in both its reduced half form in his ranged mini Gnar form, as well as his mega Gnar form.
Yeah,
Getting the plus 40.
that is quite true. So decent item pickup. We'll see if that one's able to pay off in the end of things here.
What's concerning though for me, Legendary are doing a great job finding skirmishes across the map and really empowering Acadian to get rolling on this Yasuo. Now has his completed static shiv. Obviously his passive with crit is kind of like what I like to call a stat scaling passive, because obviously the more crit chance he has, the more crits he's going to make out of his itemization. They're a skirmish-based comp. They're going to excel in 3v3s, 4v4s, 2v2s, things like that. Whereas on the opposite side, Cloud9 Tempest are very clearly a big wombo combo, 5v5, stack the Glacial Prism, get the massive Gnar ultimate. Meanwhile, Laud and Yasui are just pumping out massive amounts of damage, especially on the power spike when that Manamune locks up.
Oh, wow.
Whiffed.
Glacial Prison, yeah,
Little
thrown
wide.
out by Hard, not gonna connect. Gets the slow, but nothing else on that side. Bishu going to be quite safe for the time being. So major engage tool burned out by the Sejuani for Cloud9 Tempest.
But Legendary right now are quite safe because all they've been fighting are skirmishes, and they've gotten free dragons. The fact that Cloud9 Tempest haven't approached any of these dragons is concerning because the 5v5 stage is where they want to be. So I'm just curious if we're going to see the game swing, or if Cloud9 Tempest are going to play passive and let Legendary snowball ahead before they can really make use of their comp, or when it comes time for Baron, comes time for Dragon, that Cloud9 Tempest are just going to smash them.
Yeah. And that is a pretty good question. We saw Acadian, though, for a second there, going in onto solo, taking him down at half HP, but that's still a very tanky Gnar, despite the Black Cleaver first pickup has a Giant's Belt and a Warden's Mail, as well as that Ninja Tabi, so going to be mitigating a good amount of damage from the Yasuo. So he takes away the Krugs, will be able to pick up the wave as well, so it's still pretty even CS across the board. We can see not having that huge discrepancy in the mid lane in particular. Bishu actually beginning to fall behind compared to the Kog'Maw, whereas we've seen Ziggs, you know, really excel in the laning phase with CS, you know, compared to our other matches. Despone, though, actually taking a bit of damage from those living artilleries, going to have to go into that form and start leaping away. So the siege game from Cloud9 Tempest beginning to pay off a little bit here in these skirmishes around the jungle. Poking down, but a Nidalee is a Nidalee all the same, so will have that Primal Surge heal to keep himself sustained.
And it's really the confidence from Legendary, knowing that Hard had whiffed the Glacial Prism, of course it's back and available now, that allowed them to go so aggressive into Cloud9 Tempest jungle and compete over those Raptors, throw down, like you said, that ridiculous poke that's coming out of Bishu's Ziggs and Dez's Nidalee, but the only reason they were able to do that is they know they can't hard engage on us. They don't have the Glacial Prism. So great job of communicating and keeping track of timers.
Yeah, that's something that's pretty crucial here for that, at least for the massive engage tools Cloud9 Tempest have, keeping track of those timers at the Glacial Prison with that Mega Gnar ultimate. As long as they can keep tabs on those, this is really going to be Legendary able to roam just about wherever they want to go, because outside of that, they really only have a depth charge, which targets one person. You know, if you kite it improperly, you get multiple people locked up, but it's really only on one person. Then you have that hyperkinetic position reverser, which doesn't do too much. It's usually used in desperation situations by Urgot, very rarely to actually make plays. So as long as they can keep tabs.
Cancel out a lot of damage, however. So say Bishu is just throwing down massive... Yeah, it's almost like it's a suppression. But you can pretty much eliminate and trade your Urgot for maybe their primary damage dealer for at least 3 seconds of a fight.
That could certainly help. We see Solo putting in a bunch of damage on the Pwn here. Or Impactful, rather. Has to pop on the hunt. Solo going into that Mega Gnar form, not going to be able to connect with the stun, so this will be Legendary getting out alive as they clear a couple of these wards. Acadian getting a very nice split push in the top lane. In the meantime, no one really nearby to stop him. Looks like that turret will go down. Should be the first tier 2 tower of the game. Does fall, but this is Cloud9 Tempest looking to trade that one right back. The Mega Inferno Bomb gets thrown out by Bishu, clearing out the wave. So a couple turret shots going to go over onto the ranks of Cloud9 Tempest. That tower should be safe for now.
This is actually
too much damage on the backside.
A really fun comp from Legendary. We were really skeptical about how it was going to be executed, although hold on, because Acadian going hard on Solo.
Yeah, speaking of executing, Acadian's trying to just kill off Solo here, and he has the damage to boot as he knocks him up. He does take him down, but that will be the other side of the map. Cloud9 Tempest picking up their first dragon, so 1-2 in that regard. Still Legendary sitting up with the lead, but Acadian really just coming up hugely with this Yasuo, and as you can see, he's already taken down that top inhibitor tower to half HP, below half HP for that mark. Looking quite good with a 3-1-2 performance.
Now, the thing about Legendary's composition is in the 5v5, like we talked about, it's not going to do them much good, unless they're just so snowballed at this point that they're just crazy strong across the board. But the fact of the matter is that they're not fighting 5v5. They're doing a brilliant job that anytime they think they're about to get engaged on, they immediately pop on the hunt and they just run away. And they're just playing a split pusher or a split pressure poke game. So they walk forward, they throw Bishu poke down, they throw Dez poke down, they take everyone low. Meanwhile, in the side lanes, Acadian just continuously pushes, and because the only person that can really match up to him is Solo, and as we've seen, he's been able to solo kill Solo, he's just going to get free pressure up there. It's an issue that despite all of the hard engage tools on Cloud9 Tempest, either they're failing at pulling the trigger, failing at communicating, or just can't lock down Legendary. Like, they're doing such a good job just kind of dancing right out of Cloud9 Tempest range and just taking all of these free objectives to snowball themselves individually. So it could be executed really poorly. Like, obviously, it's the much harder composition to play, this kite pressure comp, but Legendary are doing a great job at it, and it's really fun to watch. It's pretty humorous.
Yeah, the fact that Acadian can take down Solo in a 1v1 where he has a Random Winds Omen and a Ninja Tabi is quite telling for, what an advantageous position he and the rest of his team are currently in. On that back, we can see he did pick up a BF sword, so looking to go towards that Infinity Edge, but Impactful maybe in a little bit of a bad spot. Bishu gets grabbed up by that Dredge line, huge amounts of damage coming across the Yusui. Has that Caustic Spittle throwing out the Living Artillery, trying to confirm the kill. Not going to be able to do that, but the teleport has now come in from Solo and Acadian in the mid lane as he's playing quite far forward, trying to get those Qs in to get a tornado, but the Steel Tempest just not able to get in range for that. One Satchel Charge will knock a lot out of the way of that spear. Should be safe for the time being.
Cloud9 just can't catch them.
Yeah,
I think
at that. Ooh, that was a huge amount of damage on the Nidalee just from a Caustic Spittle.
Burning the teleport, though, was a mistake. They were very safe. They popped on the hunt. Pichu immediately got away. So Cloud9 Tempest is doing the smart decision here. We know the teleport's down. We know that they don't want to fight us. They just want to run away from us. So we're going to start Baron. The problem is now they've been found, and they've ate so much Baron damage. But here comes
they found Dez into the wall. Nidalee gets immediately deleted. Solo running away as fast as he possibly can on the backside in the Mega Gnar form. Sheep as well to follow. Nautilus taking quite low. They will stave off the Baron attempt, but they do pay for it with Nidalee's life. So Dez going down, and a lot of pressure being applied in the top side of the map all of a sudden from that minion wave crashing in. Acadian Gonna have to run his way up there to stop that one and clear it out. But impactful, he's capitalizing on these recalls trying to get this tower.
It is super vital to Legendary's comp and how they're playing it right now that Acadian doesn't have his teleport. Like I said, I think it was a mistake that he burned it in that last fight just because I feel like Legendary had disengaged successfully, because now Cloud9 know that Baron, they have to fight us here. So we need to control vision, we need to set up for it, we need to make a pick with our massive Wombo combo, and this is super threatening because now, without that teleport, Legendary's trades for maybe trading a Baron for an inhib or a couple towers for a Baron are very limited when he doesn't have TP.
And both of those teleports are not going to be able, or not going to be up for quite some time. We can see Dragon coming up in the next 2 minutes. So those teleports are going to be down for a little bit longer than that, almost to the 2.5 minute mark for those to come off the cooldown. So could see some interesting play around the Dragon, maybe a 5v4 situation for either side, or maybe just a flat out 4v4 if Solo and Acadian want to relegate themselves to a lane together. You know, to try to stop that push that's coming out from this Yasuo, who is just being so relentless. You can see he has picked up the other 2 essential pieces for that Infinity Edge, just short about 200 gold to get that one finished out, and then he's going to be able to complete it. Actually, wow, he just picked up so much gold from that wave in the bot side. He can complete his Infinity Edge right now if he wants to.
But the problem is that Acadian's bot side, and there was a missed window of opportunity for Cloud9 Tempest to move into this Dragon Pit and at least secure vision, if not perhaps even start it if they thought that they had a favorable position on Acadian being bot side, dealing with that massive wave. But instead, Hard chose to back. So, kind of feel like there was a missed opportunity, especially as Hard's now caught out.
Yeah, caught out is putting it lightly. We see a lot of damage going over onto that Sejuani, who is otherwise quite tanky, taking him down to about 30% HP. Should be safe for the time being, though. Dez coming in, does smite out that blue buff, taking it away from Cloud9 Tempest as well. That could really hurt Yasui, not able to get these blue buffs. Pretty essential for the loading artillery. We can see the Mega Inferno Bomb thrown out onto Lon in the mid lane. He does have to burn his flash to get the safety, but Dez in the meantime, on the side of the lane here, getting taken down by Solo as he goes into that Mega Gnar form. Now Bishu gonna have to juke out, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that. That is a huge amount of damage coming out from Yasui, and that last living artillery will connect. He goes down. And suddenly, Cloud9 Tempest finding themselves in a pretty advantageous position, despite being down by over 3,000 gold. The Baron started up. Bishu not here for the Mega Inferno Bomb. The likelihood of taking this one away is slim to none. And they're just going to have to try to get some split push action here from the Acadian in the bot side. Baron, first Baron of the game, mind you, going over to Cloud9 Tempest at just 31.5 minutes in.
And this was because Impactful had used the On the Hunt to try to make the pick on Hard about 20 seconds before that all happened. Now, when Cloud9 Tempest get a hold of Legendary, they just mow through them. Their team is far better composed to deal with team fight situations, so they have to be so cautious and so sure to burn such an important ultimate like On the Hunt and not get anything back for it.
And we can see they're just sweeping right through, lose that bot tier 2 tower, but they pick up the Baron and the Dragon off the end of those. So 2-2 Dragons on the board. Both teams going to be even in that regard. And Cloud9 Tempest starting to look like they're inching their way back into this game rather quickly. And might be able to take some objective control here. So far, not able to crack into these tier 2 towers on the board for Legendary. But with those Baron empowered minions coming in, as well as that tower, or that structure buff from the Dragon, likely going to see some objectives going over to them in the very near future here. After these recalls, probably going to get a full 5-man push in onto one of these lanes. A nice concerted effort to gain some ground on the map against Legendary, who's otherwise been playing a pretty good game, but a major misstep coming in right before that Baron take.
I'd say it's probably a very frustrating game for Cloud9 Tempest to deal with. The other issue, though, is that if they try to consolidate all of their Barons into one lane, they're effectively pushing into Ziggs. And Ziggs, for a very long time, when he was kind of the flavor of the month pick, it feels like so long ago, all of those months ago, it was because he was a crutch to allow teams to get into late game just because his wave clear is absurd. So we'll see if even the Baroned up minions are enough to deal with this, or if the runaround pressure from Acadian pushing top and Ziggs pushing mid is going to cause Cloud9 Tempest to lose out on their opportunity to consolidate their Baron and push down some structures.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that I noticed going into this game, just slightly eyeing up chat, is that, you know, some people said that this was going to be a free game for Cloud9 Tempest just because of, you know, paper records here at ADCL, because they are in that number 2, you know, around the number 3 spot, currently in the bracket. But I have to say, Legendary, despite being at a record that's, I believe, a 4-6 compared to the 8-2 of Cloud9 Tempest, they're putting up such a good performance here, especially with this more complicated team composition. Whether or not they're able to close this one out is, you know, obviously yet to be seen. But even so, even if they don't win this game, I still have to say pretty good job to them as they catch Solo out in the middle of their own jungle, but he's going into the Megadar form, and he knocks Impactful into the wall. That's a ton of chain CC, and he goes down hard. Able to find that kill now. Acadian gonna have to be on the run, eating a bunch of damage, flashes out of the way of the dredge line, but a huge pick coming in for Cloud9 Tempest onto the 80 carry of Legendary. This could open them up to push straight into the mid lane, take down their first tier 2 tower. This one's already sitting at about 50% HP.
They have to, when they get those small windows, they have to make sure that the pick is immediate. Can't spend too much time, because again, Cloud9 Tempest, so many tools to hard engage. It's just been an issue of trying to track down Severe's on the hunt, but once they get you, you're gone. It should be noted, though, that despite Legendary's record not looking too impressive, they did inherit it from, you know, one of the bottom tier teams. So it's not like it was their skill base that put them there.
That is a very very fair statement. But even so, Cloud9 Tempest.
They're actually chasing Cloud9 Tempest right now because they're trying to buy time for Acadium in the top side to trade this inhibitor, which it looks like he'll successfully get. So let's just take a moment and realize here, Cloud9 Tempest just made the pick. They just got the Baron, and yet they're the team that loses the inhibitor.
Yeah, this is Acadian really playing to form. I mean, we can see he's just slightly ahead of Impactful as far as the scoreboard goes. Impactful suffering his first death of the game there with that attempted pick onto Solo, but Acadian, I would have to say, you know, even though the scoreboard's not showing it, he's very much carrying the team right now, securing all of the major objectives. He's gotten all of the outer turrets that have fallen, as well as that inhibitor now, just doing such a good job with this Yasuo. Infinity Edge complete, and we can see the Bloodthirster, rather, is going to be following next. I wonder if he's going to even try to build defensively.
It's going to be scarier, though, because as the game goes later and later, Solo's going to get more of his tank items. He's going to be harder to kill. So right now, the issue for Cloud9 Tempest is, A, they can't keep track of him or keep up with his split push, but B, for the longest time, Solo wasn't able to 1v1 Acadian. He would just die, so they would have to commit more than one resource to take care of the split push, and then Legendary would just take something else on the map with their other 4 members. As the game goes later, as we see now a Thornmail, a Randuin's Omen completed, it's going to be harder for Acadian to find those 1v1 duels, and as soon as he loses that power, they lose all of their pressure in the split push.
Very true. We can see Solo getting stuck with Acadian babysit duty, going up into that top side, denying that way from pushing in any further, and trying to stop him from advancing as much as he possibly can. We see a little bit of a trade coming back so far in favor of Acadian, as Solo is not able to transform into that Meganar stool, advancing, but there are several members of Cloud9 Tempest playing forward, but here comes Lopally getting caught out by that hyperkinetic position reverser. He goes down, Lod finding that kill. Now he flashes forward, trying to get onto Acadian, but he has got a ton of damage, but Lod fires right back and finds the double kill, taking him down. Getting that double kill, very nicely played by Cloud9 Tempest, getting 2 major picks here and taking down 2 major teamfight tools from the side of Legendary. They may be able to get some objectives off the side of this one, including that dragon that is now coming up in 10 seconds.
They're really just getting outscaled at this point, so this late into the game, small missteps, because they have to play their composition perfectly, not just in the team fights or the skirmishes that they have, but in their positioning on the map and how they play with pressure. We've said it over and over again. Cloud9 Tempest have a much easier composition to execute, especially as Dez now picked out.
Dez getting caught out by that dredge line with the depth charge pop-up. Looks like he will be able to get the safety. He has to burn the flash as well as leap around with that Cougar form. to do so. Throws a trap into the pit, trying to get some vision. They do have a ward down. Looks like Cloud9 Tempest going to pull this out as much as humanly possible to try to deny the spears steal here from the side of Legendary. But they are going to go ahead and commit to this one. The teleport has been burned out by Acadian as they hover around the side. Scrying Orb pops. Here comes the teleport in from Solo, trying to split them off away from the Dragon. The spear's not going to connect. It's going to be third Dragon going over to Cloud9 Tempest here at the 38-minute mark, almost 39-minute mark. Be surprised if we hit the aspect of the Dragon in this game, because well, no, that would be a 50-minute game so far. But then again, we did have I believe, almost a 60-minute game yesterday. So.
Yes, we did.
Wow.
They fumble again. I don't know if it's just the communication between Solo, but I feel like he's constantly been out of position for his team. He burned the teleport. Yeah, the teleport did help them secure the Dragon, but he walked away from a massive wave that was pushing on his Nexus tower. He does back in time to save that one, but with this Baron up and a huge pressure point created on the bottom side for Legendary, again, it's still super risky for them to approach, because even in a 4v5 scenario, the Wombo combo from Cloud9 Tempest is pretty terrifying, but in elongated poking situations, that's exactly where they want to be, so Legendary is still in the driver's seat, I feel.
Yeah, well, then that inhibitor should be spawning relatively shortly, if memory does serve. Not quite certain when it was taken by Acadian, but it should be coming up here pretty soon. So if Legendary is going to pressure this Baron, as we can see, they are starting to establish some dominating vision around the pit. Cloud9 Tempest should be in a decent position, and there we go. That's the message. So inhibitor spawning. It's going to be up in about 10 seconds now, if not less than that. That last wave of super creeps comes in. But Legendary really trying to establish as much vision as possible. 2 pinks now set around the pit, as well as that Scuttle Crab and a couple other wards. So gonna try to take that one away as quickly as possible. If nothing else, maybe to try to use the Baron to create a distraction for Acadian to go right back in and take that inhibitor out again.
See how they're gonna play this one. And it's one mistake. One time they're out of position. The issue is...
Yeah.
I'm curious if Acadian can still kill Solo. He did fairly well 1v1 against him the last time around. But if Solo has the Meganar available, I doubt that we'll see such great results. Although we do see Acadian actually standing in the brush, seeing if he can get a pick and assassination on Solo when he pushes too far forward.
But I don't think Solo. Yeah, Solo's not going to move that far forward just because of the pressure around the Baron pit. He just wants to stave off that wave as much as possible. Keep it from pushing into the inhibitor while they hover around the Baron pit. So he will recall here. Get a couple more item buys in. See another Giant's Belt on the board for him. So looking to go very, very tanky. The Black Cleaver going to be the only aggressive item that he really has in his kit. So. This is really just the poke around the Baron pit at this point to see who's going to take action. Looks like Acadian trying to take some action in the bot side, and Solo coming out on top so far, taking him down to half HP, stuns him into the tower. He takes him out. Meanwhile, a fight is smoking out near that Baron pit. Dez already taken down Lot, finding that kill. Low Valley down to below half HP. The Acid Hunters are locking in. Yasui finding a kill on a Low Valley that chases on the Bishu as he gets knocked by that dash from Sedge. Lot finding that kill, the unofficial double, and this is going to open up Cloud9 Tempest for a perfect Baron take, maybe even go straight down this mid lane. Looks like they're going to go right for that and gain some ground, take down that inhibitor, maybe a little bit more.
So, just the double whammy right there for Legendary. Not only did they lose the 4v4, but they lost the 1v1 is where it started, with Solo finally having the Meganar available. Just decimated Acadian's late game Yasuo, which this is what we expected. Nar was going to outscale him, have those tanky stats, have the damage available, as well as the CC. And then as soon as Cloud9 Tempest got a hold of them, not sure why or how they got
poor
caught.
Impactful.
Speaking of caught.
Yeah, just trying to play the defense game, gets found out by the Hyperconnect position reverser from Hard. He goes down, the Nexus turrets go down, and that's going to be the Nexus following suit. Cloud9 Tempest coming up at 43 minutes even with a victory, netting themselves their 9th here in the AlphaDraft Challenger League.
Still a fairly unconvincing game to Cloud9 Tempest dominance, though.
Yeah.
They clearly outdrafted their opponent. They had the much easier composition to execute as it was just a straight 5v5 hard engage composition. Legendary did a great job kind of dancing around the map, playing tag, taking objectives for free. It looked like kind of communication issues across the board, but they finished strong. Yusui, perfect game on the Kog'Maw, likewise hard, matching his score right there.
Well, like you said, a little bit of a shaky performance coming in for these guys, and gonna have to step that one up if they want to stay toward the top of the bracket right now here, especially with the playoffs looming ever closer with next week coming in. So, gonna have to play out of their minds next week. Currently tied with Frank Fang Gaming and Misfits, or almost with Misfits rather. They're down a win, or a loss. They're down a loss. I should say they're down a loss in that regard to be tied with Misfits. So if they want to net themselves one of those top 2 spots, they're really gonna have to tighten up their performance and really come in and play as that powerhouse team that we have known them to be in the past. That performance just a little bit shaky against former Dad Slammers. So a lot of work to be done over the weekend. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to improve when they come back next week. But for tonight, that is going to be it for us here at the AlphaDraft Challenger League. My name's Achilleos. With me tonight has been Froskuren. We thank you guys for tuning in and for your patience tonight. And on behalf of myself, Froskuren, and the rest of the ADCL broadcast team, good night, and we'll see you guys next week.